Hello all, welcome to our ZoidRush video. I'm your host, TM Zoids, also known as Tony. And today, 1 year later, we are talking about New World. Yep, bittersweet, I tell you, bittersweet. Where do I even start with this? Well, I have a confession to make here. After I, pooped on New World for that video, the last video that I made on YouTube, believe it or not, I pooped on it. I trashed New World for what it was and gave it a hard, very, very hard critique. And now I am almost 2,000 hours into the game and still playing the game, believe it or not. I know, crazy. Hypocrite. What are you doing, Tony? What's going on? Anything new? The game's got to have been changed by then. What keeps you playing? We're going to be talking about that all today. So first, we're going to talk about where New World was when I made that video and where New World is today and my initial thoughts because, one, I really didn't like that video. Rewatching that video a few times and I'm like, not my best video, but not my worst video. But let's start where I want to start with the beginning. So I was very harsh and very critiqued, very critiqued of New World. And I want to say that first New World, or the, AGS, as they call it, Amazon Gaming Studio, people that are in charge, they have a good foundation. They do. I didn't realize how new or how, inexperienced these people were also. That was something that I didn't take into account or didn't really address when making that video either. I didn't realize that half these people had no real gaming experience under their belt, and this is their first major MMO title, which really blew up. I think they had worked on a few other games that didn't really go so well or were very successful. So first off, I just wanted to say, for what they have and the knowledge that they have and created, this is a huge stepping stone, and I didn't give them enough credit the last time, believe it or not, so I apologize there. That being said, I want to also say that New World does have a good foundation. As an MMO, it has a great foundation, and this is one of the MMOs, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but this is one of few, if not only MMO, that I really, really enjoy PvP. And that's not a common thing for me, because I used to play World of Warcraft, and as soon as I say I played a hunter in World of Warcraft, because that's the next follow-up question, people are like, you didn't like PvP in World of Warcraft? No, I hated it. I thought it was mundane. I thought it was boring. I wasn't good at it, which was part of the problem too. And let's be honest, it is what it is. I just didn't like it. Whereas New World, it's kind of the opposite. I don't really like the PvE aspect of things, which we'll talk about also, but I do enjoy the PvP aspect of things, wars and everything to that, advancement is something that I really enjoy. So that being said, let's talk about where I was then. So the last video, I was in level 60, and a lot of people are saying, how can you critique a video or critique a game when you weren't even max level or hit the end game content? I am level 60 now. I've hit level 60. I didn't think I was going to hit level 60. I'll be honest with you. I hated the game. And what MMOs do, or what MMOs are really good at, are bringing people together, or at least trying to bring some group of people together. And if you don't have a group of friends or a group of people that you play with in the MMO, it's not going to be enjoyable. I know somebody out there is going to be like, well, I'm a solo player. I never play with a group, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not enjoyable for me. I will play RPGs, don't get me wrong. I've played Jack and Dexter. I've played Ratchet and Clank. Those are games that, yes, are solo player, RPG, walkthrough kind of games, and I do enjoy those games. But when it comes to an MMO, a lot of the stuff, like dungeons and stuff, you need a group. And if you're never going to do dungeons or stuff, kudos to you. There are things to do if you're a solo player that just refuses a group or doesn't want a company or anything to that extent. By the way, a company is a guild, if you didn't know. So that being said, it was dreadful. I would log on, I would grind through a level because I was like, I got to give this game a chance. I kept giving this game a chance. And I was level 47 when I made that video, maybe 48. I think I mentioned it in the video, maybe not. And I just hated it. I just did not like it. And I'm still very critiquing of that video, which we'll go into, or critiquing of the game. So when I hit level 60, some things a little bit changed. One, the max level for your gear, right? Gear score, right? Was 600. or 595, depending on how you looked at it. 600 was really hard to get to, believe it or not. That's fine. Neither here or there. Another thing is the endgame content was lackluster at best. They did fix the questing, which we'll go into in the new where New World's at later on. But questing back then was terrible. All you had to do was grind town boards out, and I was tired of doing town boards, and you had to do town boards at your level, right? So my mistake was I didn't level up any of my professions. I didn't level up any of my, gathering skills or anything. I'm like, quest, get to the end game content, and then I'll work on the skills as I'm level 60. That's what I did in World of Warcraft. It's like, quest, get to the main level first, then work on your professions and shit later. But in this kind of game, at the time, of course, you had to have professions at a somewhat same level. And the reason I say that is because town boards were such an important thing back in the day, right? This was a couple months ago, for leveling. It's just how you leveled. You do town boards. Your main quest line was not that great. It didn't give you that XP, and it stopped you at a certain point. So if you were too far behind in a level, which I would get so far ahead in the storyline that it would stop you and kind of gatekeep you to a certain level to continue on with the main storyline. So if I was level 38, sometimes I was doing the main storyline, and I'd finish the main storyline with the help of some people that were walking by or a group that was in the area, and I would get it done sooner than I was supposed to, and then it would be like, you cannot complete this level until you're like level 48, for example, which was really frustrating and irritating for me, but they've changed all that. Allegedly. I haven't done it myself, just to be clear. But reaching level 60, I enjoyed the game because I joined a company, I met some good people, and that's kind of what kept me in the game where I was at today. I've been all three factions, Syndicate, Marauder, and Covenant. As of right now, I'm Syndicate, which is purple. If you're going color coordinated, I started as green, which is Marauder. Then I went to yellow, which is Covenant. And then I went, of course, to Syndicate as my last ditch effort. I wouldn't say even last ditch effort. I would say more of I was just doing all the factions. You got to do it for the missions or achievements anyway, if that's what you're going for, which I wasn't. I didn't even plan about that. I was just switching factions because that's who I was talking with or playing with at the time, and that's just how I end up right now. That could change in the future. And then hitting level 60, like I said, Gear Sword bumps were terrible. Endgame content at the time was trash. The dupes, glitches, exploits, everything that New World had are still a little bit prevalent problems, and they're not addressed quickly enough, in my opinion. And we'll go over that in a second. But when I started, I was always an Ice Gauntlet user, and this is the story I always use, is that the New World devs knew that Ice Gauntlet was broken. What do I mean? You throw down your Ice Storm, which was this huge AoE, and it was stacking with your ability with your other weapon. So whatever other weapon you were using, you could stack your ice damage with your other ability. So in war purposes, people were running Ice Gauntlet as their offhand and then running an axe or something, which was not traditional war. It wasn't supposed to be that way. But when you have 50 storms going down, AoE storms, it's laggy. It is not good. It's not nice to your computer. Even if you have the top of the line computer these days, New World is still not very friendly for your PC, and just it lags. It doesn't matter how old or how good your computer is. It still will lag, even at its highest graphics, and that's just because of all the rendering and what's going on in the background. I don't know. I've looked at my control panel when I'm playing the game, and it's using a lot of CPU. I'm not kidding. Like this game, I'm not saying this is the only game that uses a lot of CPU, but this game uses a good chunk of CPU and memory, and it's just like, why? I don't understand. Especially when I'm not in a major town and it's just raining or just a surrounding area. I did change my graphics, so it does help. That does help a little bit, but but back to what I was saying is that Ice Gauntlet was a known glitch, right? So everybody was using it as their offhand and stacking it with their weapon. So imagine 50 of those in war. It was laggy. It was terrible. It was not a good meta. It's not fun, right? Because that's what everybody was doing. Everybody was running it. It was a majority of people were running Ice Gauntlets, like an insane amount of people. Do you have an Ice Gauntlet? Yeah, you're in war. Okay, good to know. But what's frustrating is that the AGS or AGS knew about this, right? And they were just like, oh, we know about this issue. And it took 1 month to fix that. And that's just frustrating. And that's why it kills your player base from where it was what it is, right? Because there was a lot of duping, a lot of exploits, and some of that was unfair too, right? Because a lot of the duping issues ended up on the market, of course, which ruins the market, blah, 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 reset the servers, all this conversation, right? This, that, or the other thing. And I recall one of my guys bought something off the market, honing stones. They help you enhance your weapon, do damage, right? He did not know they were duped. He bought them off the trading post. Yes, the trading market. He didn't buy it from somebody. He didn't trade it with somebody. No, he didn't make them. He bought them off the post and got permanently banned for it. Now, of course, you could appeal your bans and all that jazz, and I think he ended up being unbanned after several weeks or after they cleared up all the duping and all the clearing of the items. So neither here or there. And then a lot of people said that the items that were duped for some odd reason also didn't end up being removed from their items or their bags anyway, or not most of them. So I can understand why that killed the population, and that's why it was very critiqued, very crucial, very harsh on New World. Because, let's be honest, even if you're new, I think some of these things, especially I'm not even talking about bots, but the duping and the exploiting and the known issues and damages that really affect war, either disable it at the time being, which they've gotten better, by the way, disable it or remove it from the game for the time being, or you can't equip it or whatever that needs to be done, or disable the spell or whatever the case may be. Like I said, they've gotten better with that. But those are a lot of things that killed its player base back then, and it was just frustrating because it was like the patches take a very long time. So I'm just curious do they have like an idea? Do they have like what they want to do, right, in the future? Because they do release roadmaps, but are those roadmaps that like they already had planned, or is these things that like here's a roadmap of what we thought as the game goes on, that's what we like, right? So that's what's frustrating because you kind of don't know, and a patch takes a long time. Moving forward, though, right? Today's New World. We are 1 year later. First, I'm going to go over the little mini gripes that I have, and then I will try and go back to the positives and the negatives. Mini gripes. 1 year in, there's no reward. What the heck, man? Give your loyal base or bring back, if you join, just like World of Warcraft. I know this is basic, but you come in, log in during this certain amount of time, we get an award, right? If it's a skin or a cool little axe that doesn't do anything, or a toy, or a musical instrument that represents like a thing, or a certain song, something that's in the game, right? That you could celebrate, and everybody's like feels appreciative that, hey, we stuck out with New World, because a lot of people did stick out with New World the whole year, didn't give up on it. Some people quit, some people came back, all this jazz. And they have events running right now and the new servers, which we'll talk about briefly. And it's like, it's kind of a spit in the face because they kind of missed the mark, in my opinion, with that. I just feel like, 1 year going through a lot of, like I said, the duping and the exploits and the glitches and the errors, which are still kind of prevalent, we'll talk about. It's like nothing. And then you give these bigger streamers that have a lot of views, right, or people that play the game, get these flasks and these packages from New World, and it's just like, I don't want a package. I'm not asking for a package. I'm not salty that those people got a package. I just want to make that clear. That's awesome for them. I'm glad they got a package. It's awesome that New World created some kind of package and had these people, have some type of, celebration for the 1 year. I do just wish that everybody got some kind of basic in-game kind of thing. That would have been cool. Some kind of weapon, especially with the Greatsword just coming out. So, but a roadmap. So I want to talk about New World and the roadmap and where it is at now. So, like I said, end-game content when I was level 60 1 year ago was lackluster. I was like a PvE-er. I still was in that PvE mindset. Now that's changed. There are still some gripes and some issues that we still have that are going on. First things first, when I got level 60, there was only 2 dungeons. That's right, 2, Lazarus and Genesis. And a lot of people hate Genesis, and people till this day still wipe in Genesis, but that's beside the point. I enjoy Genesis because there's mechanical, you have to have some kind of mechanics and know somewhat of a raiding or dungeon background from an MMO, which I enjoyed. Whereas Lazarus was a lot of doors where it was like, here's waves of mobs. You have to survive these waves, and then the door will open. And you're like, okay, that's cool. And then you get to the next part, and you're like, okay, this door is locked behind you. You can't get out. You have to kill all these mobs. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then you get to the next part, and the door shuts and it's like, all right, you have to survive for a minute and 30. Oh, okay, I get it. But neither here or there. I'm trying to wrap this up as fast as possible. I'm looking at the time. I already see it's 15 minutes. So I appreciate you guys. If you're still watching, make sure you click that like button if you enjoyed this video so far. If you want to check out my other content, please click on my socials down below. Or you can check out my channel and get notified by clicking the bell, subscribe, all that jazz. Might as well do that now. Also, continuing on, though, New World from that point on. They've made three new dungeons, sorry. They've made Tempest, which I have my own gripes about, but whatever. Then they have Barns, which is awesome. I think it was pretty cool. And then they made Need, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, in the new area with the new Brimstone's Stands area. So that's where we are today. 1 year later, New World has advanced that area or that time, which I do appreciate. I just want to do a quick little thing is that I'm glad they didn't go, okay, leave New World where it was at and then use an expansion or DLC pack to unlock new areas or new things. I do appreciate that they just took the hit and was like, all right, we're just going to continue on with the MMO and not do what WoW did and was like, okay, here's a new area, here's a new expansion, here's $30 you need to spend again. So I do appreciate that he gave us a new area. The new area is awesome. It's very big. It's very big. It's a sandy area. It's a little bit different. It is large. A lot to do. You have different chest runs. You have 2 different arena bosses. And when I think of arenas, you're probably thinking about 3v3s. No, you are talking about PvE. There's a scuttle or a scarab, whatever you want to call it. I call it a scarab, of course, in-game. Scuttle if you're playing League of Legends. But a beetle. It spawns once a day during the morning time or daytime, whatever you want to call it. It's only once a day, which is kind of weird, but whatever. You got to be there at the perfect time. And then there's a scorpion at the top of the map on the right-hand side on the top. And he spawns at nighttime in a cave, which is also very cool. They introduced more of the runes. They got you were a little bit more interactive here. Story-wise, I didn't really care about it, the interactive scenes and the cut scenes and all that stuff. I know people griped on that, but it was a little late for my opinion because I'm already level 60. Now, if you're just leveling up and going through the story and following the story, I know they changed the whole story, by the way, which also leads to me releasing new servers. My thoughts about this, it's cool. I understand the idea, right? And so new servers, pretty much fresh start servers. A year later, I can understand why for a couple reasons. Like I said, the dupes and the issues that New World experienced at the beginning aren't going to be in there, so your economy is not affected, right? 2, you have a lot of super companies at this point on the legacy servers or the older servers, and it's just kind of frustrating. It's hard if you're not in those or in those companies or guilds, whatever you want to call them. It's very hard PvP wise and very territorial wise on some servers. It's just they own the server. It's like they are on every side. It doesn't matter the color too. So if they're yellow, of course they own their territory and they own majority of the territory because that's the only super company that they own, right? Which kills yellow in a sense because if you're not on their team, then you're trying to fight with your own company, which is fine, but it's hard to recruit, right? When you have this guy the super company that has 2 or 3 territories, 5 territories where I'm at right now, 5 territories, believe it or not. And it's hard to recruit on a yellows team and then convince the other yellows to be like, okay, we need more, help us with this war, right? Because they're going to be like, well, we already own 5 out of the 12 territories or 11 territories. I think it's 11 territories. I don't think it's good for server health, even though I own 5 of them. But, it's not good for you to own one because, you don't want 6 yellow territories. So it's like, So then you're like, okay, well, we'll go against them. We'll be green or purple. The problem is they're on both sides there, and they kind of control everything. It kind of sucks, let's be honest. It controls the outcome of the war. They really favor those people. They want to slot those people because they're very good. So it's, it is what it is. Which leads me to the next part, the Brimstone Stands area overall. And this is just released and where we're at. It released the new dungeon, which is a Need or a Ned. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Cool dungeon, cool concept. The area, like I said, very cool, interactive with the story. It doesn't really bug me. It doesn't impress me or sway me one way or another because I'm really ready level 60. One thing I don't like is they didn't give us a gear score bump or they didn't give us a level bump. So there's things that are level 65 and these aren't hard to kill. If they're regular mobs, they're not hard to kill. They're a pain in the ass, I'll admit, but they're not hard to kill. It's frustrating coming from once again a WoW background where I'm max level and I'm geared out, right, and I'm killing stuff in the world and it's not dying in like 2 shots or 1 shot, right. I am max gear. I'm at max gear score, and it just blows my mind to this day that I'm level 60 fighting another level 60, and it's a struggle. An NPC. Now I'm not talking about PvP. I'm talking about real world stuff, and I'm not talking about dungeons either. I'm not like saying I should go in a dungeon and be like 1 shot, 1 shot, 1 shot. That's not what I'm going at. But it's frustrating to see, like, in the open world that there's just mobs, especially the alligators still. You just want to, like, they stagger you, and they don't die in 2 hits from what I play, right? Because I play Ice Gauntlet, VG, or Fire Staff, or Blunderbuss, and it's just pain in the ass. That's all. My gripe there. Overall, though, they fixed a lot of the issues. There are new servers for the economy, the company issue, like I said, the duping, all that issues. But New World still suffers from issues, right? And no game will be bug-free. I'm not saying World of Warcraft was ever bug-free. World of Warcraft had its own problems and bugs and still has a lot of its problems and bugs and issues and whatnot. But 2 of the things that I just blows my mind, in my opinion, is the fact that gems. Gems have always been an issue and never really addressed. Level 2 gems were always stronger than the tier 5 gems, which blew my mind in the first place, and they never addressed that, never touched it. But in this next, or in this patch, right, or this new area, they came in with empowered gems, which it gives you an empowerment casing around the gem, which is only tier 5 gems. So now it gives you a damage buff or does different things, which is cool, implemented. But here's the kicker. They released the gems about 2-ish weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, we're going on, and the gems aren't working as intended again, even though the gems weren't working as intended the first time, but now they're not working with the new stuff. So they were patching this. This is getting patched, so by the time you probably watch this, it is probably patched by now. But I just don't understand how this happens. Why is this a thing? If you release something new, and I understand that, it should be hot fixed right away. That shouldn't take a couple weeks. And like I said, I understand the AGS is small, and they're new. So I do try and give them some slack, and I don't really go to the forums and complain and moan and groan like everybody else, right? I'm trying to watch my language. If you haven't noticed, I haven't swore as much in this. So, yeah. Overall, another thing they did was give you another ability. New World is really good about simple combat, which is some people really like, some people really hate. But depending on your class, you have 2 to 3 abilities. Like I said, some only have 2, some have 3, depending on your third ability. Some have like an offensive third ability, which leaves you with a two attack thing with then your auto attacks. So you have, like, for example, for your fireball, you have a pillar, your fireball, and then a burnout. What burnout is like, you zoom away really far with the fire behind you, right? Burn away. Here they added a runestone. Cool. I like this idea, concept. Of course, some are going to be more strong than others, which is no surprise. War is just going to be that way. You're going to favor these things because that's how it goes, right? You're going for the best, right? The problem with the runestones, in my opinion, are as follows: that one, is cool that you got it through a quest, which is fine, but they could have elongated this a little bit, and if you work towards a runestone, I don't mind that it was all through crafting. I know a lot of people enjoy the crafting aspect of things, and they're like, oh, you get to craft through New World, and World of Warcraft is actually implementing a lot of this stuff in Dragonblight, and this and that. It's going to be totally different because crafting is actually important. They don't, put crafting on the wayside, which is fine, but I feel like they should have made it. And I'm not saying the crafting materials are cheap by any means. I'm not saying they are very easy to get and attainable by any means. If you're new, it's going to take you a while to get a new heart rune, right? But for people that have been playing like myself, who have had 1,000 hours, I peaked there, 2,000, 3,000 hours, Of course, you're going to have all the stuff that you need besides the glyphs. And of course, they're going to be a little overpriced, but you have the gold for that for right now. So it all balances out, compensates for this, that, or the other thing. And then people were doing the chest runs, like you said. And just overall, it's just frustrating how easy it was to get. You do have to run the dungeons. I do like how they brought you back through the old dungeons, which was cool. They brought you back through Genesis and Laz and Barnacles and Tempest and the new dungeon if you want it, depending on which runestone you want it. There are 3 of each different runestone, so it's not like it's just one option. There are different options and different paths. But like I said, people are favoring one or the other because of how strong it is or how it affects you in war, what this, that, or the other thing. Overall, though, I want to readdress this, is that New World does have a good base, a good foundation, and that's what a game needs, a good foundation and a good idea, which New World does have. The problem is I think they're just a little small. I know it's weird to say that Amazon's a small indie company, but their company and the people that work on the game, very small. It just MMOs like this, like every MMO, I'm not just saying this MMO, but every MMO suffers from the same problem. It's just the content is just not there. It doesn't keep up with the demand, really. The supply and demand. And World of Warcraft's the same way. And World of Warcraft battled it by making these impossible long-ass raids, which they addressed, right? They toned down the raids now. So we'll see how that goes in the new Dragonblight and see what people revert to that. But it's like New World doesn't have raids. Some of the things that are lackluster and still haven't been addressed are still prevalent to this day. OPR being one of those. OPR doesn't have any new systems. It still has the same one that I've talked about in the last video. Last year. It hasn't changed since I've played. It's not a new mode. There's nothing coming out. The holiday doesn't affect it. This, that, or the other thing doesn't affect it. Arenas. We were talking about ranked arenas or PvP arenas, like World of Warcraft. You have a 3v3 arena and you still are using the same map. It's the same thing, where World of Warcraft, and I know I hate comparing World of Warcraft to New World. I hate doing this, to be honest with you. But looking at World of Warcraft, it has different battlegrounds. It doesn't just have Warsong Gulch. It has other PvP arenas that you wanted to do, or battlegrounds. PvP arenas, when you do a PvP arena, if it be 2v2s or 3v3s, you have different arenas that you fight in. It's not the same arena. You grind, you actually have a rank there. You get different gear, you get the gladiator gear, you have those own achievements there. And New World implemented that, and it's just like, it kind of sits there and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't benefit you at all. And some people really like 3v3 arenas for what they are, which is fine. That's cool. But I just feel like there's no change, there's no mix up to it, and there's no point to it, right? You could have a 3v3 group that is really, really good in arenas, but overall it doesn't matter because you're not getting rank for it, you don't get gear for it, you don't have any other, achievements or really anything. I mean, there's, win this many games, this, that, or the other. Besides the title, maybe. I have to double check on that one, verify that one. Probably. Some of you will probably be like, yeah, that's a thing. But overall, it's just there, and it hasn't been worked on. It hasn't been touched or addressed. And this is the thing that I'm talking about. The patches seem to be longer and longer, and the fact that New World at the beginning of the game, when it had all its hype and all the people that were involved in it, didn't have the content, a content drought, really, if you think about it, because it was a long time. Because it took me from level 30, and I dragged leveling. I was like, I'm dragging on this leveling thing. It took a long time for New World to implement something new, and they are adding holidays and events like that, which is fine. But the main content of their games, like the OPRs, the 3v3 arenas, haven't been addressed. Wars are really kind of like the same thing. It's the same area. There's nothing new to that. And it's how many... I mean, I enjoy war. And I enjoy war. I just want you to say it. To know this is that I do enjoy war. This is what I thrive to do in that game. That's what I enjoy. That's what I said at the beginning. And it's nothing new when it comes to pushing. I talked about this last time. There's limited missions. There's even more limited missions now because they got rid of the eradicate mission, and I'm not too sure if that's just because it was broken and wasn't working, which it wasn't working already, or if they plan on re-implementing that. But now there's only like 2 missions to push a territory, and it's just I get it. It's not supposed to be easy to push a territory and influence, but it's just such a grind. It shouldn't be that way. It should really be different PvP missions that you can enjoy or gain influence for, different implementations, whatever it may be, gathering wood or going in this area and gathering wood, or gathering this, gathering that material, just something different so you get different parts of the map. The same thing. It's the same thing. Even though with a new area, you have the same type of missions for PvP. And it's just frustrating, especially now that you're doing literally like 2 missions, 3 mission stops if you decide to go the other way. And a lot of people don't go the other way. So you're really doing 2 missions because they're all the same way. And they give you the most XP for the amount of time that you're spending, blah, 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 right? So overall, my thoughts of New World. I, right now, still stand by what I said. Good foundation for New World. But this game has a lot to work on. It needs more people. It needs more, creators. It needs more people on the dev team to really amp up its making. And I don't know if they'll ever catch up with the content drought. New servers were a cool idea. Like I said, it gets rid of the companies, the mega companies, and the duping and the gold that was there. But like I said, there are still issues that have not been addressed. Like I said, the new gems were having an issue and that wasn't working. And I'm sure as patches get implemented, there will be other issues, exploits issues that shouldn't be used, right? But people are going to use them and use them to their advantage. So here or there. But overall, as of right now, as of November 10th, 2022, I give New World a 6.5 or 7 out of 10 overall for content wise, right? Content, I'm talking about everything. The people that are making the dungeons, if you plan on making a raid, you are going to have an amazing raid, by the way. I just want to say that right now. The bosses you make in dungeons, which people can't do, and some of the mechanics some people can't do, which is fine, and that's the way it should be, are amazing. I just want to say that. It is kind of cool. The amount of stuff that you guys do just in dungeons, I can only imagine what a raid was. Besides Lazarus. Whoever made Lazarus, no offense, but don't make a dungeon ever again. Don't. Dude. Your waves of mobs are just boring. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. It was one thing if you did it was at the beginning, but the whole dungeon, and then the mob, Scylla, and her, she does have mechanics. I'm not saying they don't have mechanics. The actual bosses don't have mechanics. And then you go to Chartis, and it's just a tank and DPS, Yeah. Anyway, I am done. Thank you. If you followed me this whole time, make sure once again you subscribe, like this video, share this video, follow me on my social medias. You can see them up on the top of the right hand screen, or no, left hand screen. What the heck? Right? There we go. Right? No. That way. No. That way. What am I doing? There you go. That way. I can't point. Anyway, follow me on my social medias. They will also be linked down below. Leave a comment. Share this video. Appreciate you. Love you. I know content's been dry. We're going to have more content. I promise you. I'm probably going to upload my New World videos, my war videos to the channel, so you have something to watch at least. You can follow me on Twitch. I've been streaming a lot, actually. There's new emotes and all that kind of jazz there. So until next time, guys, thank you for watching. Bye now.